phone into 211. It is best not to call 911 unless you have an emergency scenario. So leave 911 open for that situation. Let us recap for you that immediate evacuation from low levels of Oroville and areas downstream was ordered after 4 today, and the hazardous situation developed. I used the words that the auxiliary spillway had failed, and a better choice of terminology would be that it is overwhelmed. It is working, but there has been extensive erosion, as you have seen in our live shots throughout the day, and we'll take a look at some video right now of the river there. You can see cars leaving, but it does show an orderly evacuation, this being the most critical aspect. National Weather Service has issued a flash flood warning, of course, for the area. And we want to bring you back to the timeline of this scenario. We also were told over an hour ago that officials anticipated a failure of that auxiliary spillway. I used that word earlier. What we have seen is an overwhelmed spillway at this point in time. And you can see it on the left. The spillway, they are letting everything they can through the main spillway that they possibly can, more than 100,000. And I'm going to read this to you in just a moment. I've just been told 200 to 250 cars are already at the Silver Dollar Fairgrounds, so they are evacuation centers, so they are nearing capacity there. There are some churches, so if you do know an area, hey, go to the mall up here in Reading. If you can get out of there, this is a safety measure at this point. There are no reports of injuries. And certainly we're going to be looking at some very significant downstream damage. We just don't know what that's going to be. Issues with the spillway at the Oroville Dam began back in 2013. We learned this past week that crews made some patches on the main spillway near where the damage that we've been watching significantly was found Wednesday. The left of your screen from this helicopter footage, that is the emergency spillway, which was breached for the first time ever earlier yesterday. Now, officials Wednesday said they did a visual report from a distance, those several years ago. Fast forward to 4 years later, the gaping hole discovered Wednesday began at 45 feet by 300 feet, 500 feet long. There is no way to know exactly how long that is now because it is under 100,000 cubic feet a second going across it. Officials said through the week the emergency spillway would not need to be used, but we should be fair in saying that it was a last resort. They did not expect it to be used, and it has done its job. It has never been tested before. Let us keep this in mind that until 1 a.m. Saturday morning, in nearly a half century of operation, lake levels had never passed the emergency spillway height at 901 feet, and that is when they did the first time ever. Flows accelerated to 12,600 cubic feet per second. Department of Water Resources has held press conferences yesterday and today. They did urge calm yesterday, but you heard the sheriff of Butte County say he made the decision to give an emergency evacuation order when he realized that there was going to be additional water that was having to come across. He did not want to have panic. And there you can see, is this a live shot coming? This is not live, but you can see not that long ago, the sun is going down. This is, of course, earlier as well, out at one of the evacuation areas. But you can see getting out of town is critical. You cannot go into Oroville, and that is very important. Now, crews, of course, have at noon today, they said flood evacuations were unlikely, but we, again, also were being given information that it could happen. So Taylor Torregano was there at our press conference earlier today. Now, she reported officials said they expected water currently coming down for the emergency spillway to stop by noon tomorrow, but it is very difficult today. We had a
So I'm in front of the Visitor Center. We just finished hearing from Sheriff Corey Honey here. He first spoke to the media and then he spoke to the community, saying he also wanted to let everybody know what's going on. Initially what happened was the emergency spillway that is next to the primary spillway was releasing the overflow of water from Lake Oroville. The lake can get up to 901-foot elevation before the water automatically starts pouring over that emergency spillway. So that was going on as normal. The flows to the primary spillway were also releasing at 55,000 cubic feet per centimeter when a hole started to form in the emergency spillway near the top. So to help explain it a little bit better, actually a firefighter with CAL FIRE said you can compare it to a water hose shooting down into soil. If you can see that pressure of water going down directly into some soil, you can see just how much of a hole that could form, and that's what happened here. So DWR saw this. They did anticipate initially that the erosion from that hole would spread a lot faster, a lot quicker, and with that continuous downpour of water, they did anticipate that it would be a little bit more of an issue. They did say now that the good news is that the water has not been as, the water hasn't caused as much of an erosion as once thought. So Sheriff Corleone said that he was really just trying to be proactive, get in front of the situation, and make sure to protect all the lives of everybody south of Oroville. So that's why he did make that decision to go forward with that evacuation. But I want to speak to Chris Orrick. He's actually a public information officer with the Sacramento office of DWR. Hi, Chris.
Hi, good evening.
So he's kind of just been giving us a little bit of information as this whole situation unfolded from Tuesday when the hole formed. Chris, just tell me a little bit about what the condition of the emergency spillway is now.
Well, about 3:30, as you saw during the press conference, we saw that there was increased erosion in the uncontrolled, unlined spillway. It was at that point in time that we formed a unified command with our local sheriff, with the emergency medical system, and with our other partners, and decided that to side on caution. The safety of the public is our number one priority during this whole thing, and that's when the evacuation order was issued. So since then, through our observation, we've noticed that hole in the emergency spillway, the erosion, has slowed its progression. And we believe through the options that we've taken to mitigate the flow down there, increase the flow on the damaged gated spillway, that we're able to lower the level of the reservoir down enough so that eventually that emergency spillway will not have water flowing over it. We're also having helicopters that will be dropping rock into that area that eroded to help. If any more water flows down there, it'll hit the rock and hopefully go over that area and not cause any further erosion.
And those helicopters are doing that now?
We saw the helicopters fly overhead a little bit ago. I believe they went to the area to pick up the rock, and they'll be coming back with that.
Okay. If we could just give the viewers a little bit more information about worst-case scenarios. Say that erosion does continue. Do you know what would happen?
There is a possible, if the erosion continues through the uncontrolled spillway and we have a breach, it will go through into the reservoir, and we'll have an uncontrolled release of water into the community.
Okay. Anything else to add as far as what the community can expect for the future?
No, I mean, once again, their safety is our number one priority. That's why we issued the evacuation order. We'll continue with the evacuation order in place until we're assured that they could come back to their homes and be safe.
Thank you so much. We are expecting another press conference coming up at 9 p.m., so we will keep you updated. For now, though, back to you.
Thank you very much, Taylor, for reporting. One thing we should mention, two things we need to mention that are important. One is that there's no evidence that there's anything structurally wrong with the dam itself. Some people would question maybe that would be the case. They say no. And number two, the evacuations are indefinite. When people leave, they're not going to be allowed to get back in until it's determined that the spillway or the situation is at least safe. And what's worrisome is that we've been hearing that by the middle of the week, in the next couple, 3 days, we could be seeing more rain and perhaps maybe those levels in the reservoir growing even more and maybe more spillage. So the issue is now a matter of the evacuations have happened, how long will they continue, and much of that could be determined by the forecast. Let's get the very latest from one of our meteorologists, Jeremy Linder. Jeremy, what can you tell us about that? I know that has to be a big concern for people at the DWR right now.
Yeah, it is, Jerry. They're dealing with a lot of these conditions right now on a dry day where temperatures jumped up well above average, and now we just have a whole nother system coming into play. I do want to point out, though, one key feature. This is the latest forecast that came down from the California Nevada River Forecast Center, and this is particularly at the Feather River at Gridley. The key thing to keep an eye out is even with CFS, the outflow all the way up to 100,000 CFS, the forecast as of right now for the Feather River at Gridley is just above the monitor stage. It's actually expected to peak about 95.1 feet. You don't even start to see any minor flooding until about 96 feet. What's happening is it's that uncertainty right now with the emergency spillway. If anything happens and we continue to have more water heading down into stream, that's where the major flooding is going to come into play, and one of the reasons why we have that flash flood warning. The key there is flash flood, where it could hit in a moment and very quickly we could have a whole nother situation in store. Now, we are keeping an eye on the lake levels at Oroville Dam. Right now, it's about 0.35 feet above that emergency spillway, so it is continuing to drop. Their outflows is about twice what's coming in from snowmelt, so that's going to continue to help those lake levels dip back down, but we're still above by 21,000 acre feet. That's above what's normal capacity if we were at perfectly 100%. So all of that is starting to work its way downstream. There's that flash flood warning again in the area shaded in red. That includes portions of Gridley, East Biggs, Palermo, Oroville, Thermalito. That lasts all the way till 4:15 Monday afternoon. And like Jerry mentioned earlier, we're going to continue to keep an eye on the potential for flooding, not only with the runoff and the snowmelt that we're seeing right now. In fact, a flood warning throughout the area is still in place through 9:15 Monday. But now all eyes will go towards the middle of the week with our next storm system. Precision Gas is still staying dry on Tuesday, but temperature-wise, we're still in the 60s, flirting near 70 by the beginning of the work week. So a lot more snow melt is going to start coming into play. Wednesday morning is the next system. It's going to remain off of the coast, but by Wednesday night into Thursday, all of that moisture will start to work its way in. Snow levels even estimating fairly high, so that means more snow melt to start off. Eventually, those levels will continue to drop by about Thursday, when we're still seeing a little bit of lingering moisture, but a lot of rainfall still potentially headed our way, not only for the valley, but the mountains, and that all works its way into the local lakes. Very unsettled, not only for the tail end of the week, but heading into the following weekend as well. So a lot of dangers that we're going to keep you on top of. We'll continue to alert you to the potential as we go through. A reminder, Monday, I have our alert level at a medium because of those high river levels, not only along the Feather River, but we're seeing some very high levels along the Sacramento River as well, and both of those merge as it continues to head downstream. Tuesday, we'll have to monitor that and see if we need to bump it up, but by Wednesday, all eyes are on that next storm system that could potentially bring several inches of rainfall again, not only for the week, but through the weekend as well, which is a whole nother issue when it comes to flooding. Jerry?
Hey, sorry, Jeremy, it's Brent. Jerry's got to take a break. We're just handing this off to keep everyone up to date. Now, we do want to underscore what Jeremy has been talking about, that we have seen some decrease in the levels, so that is good. The good news is there has been a helicopter overview of the scenario, and they're not seeing extensively significant new damage as feared to the spillway. Clearly, this has never happened before. Let's underscore that, folks. This is historic. In the 48 years this spillway has never been used. So all things being equal, it is doing its job. The evacuation was called in advance, but we do want everyone to understand what we were told earlier when we spoke with the Butte County Sheriff on the phone, and he made it very clear, and it has been made very clear by others involved in this scenario, that the dam and the spillway are completely separate, and the spillway, the dam itself is not in jeopardy. The dam itself is not showing any signs of any problems. So we do want to bring you up to date on places that you're going. We do have several emergency shelters and locations that have been open. We are trying to keep those posted here and in other places as best we can, hoping that the continuing lower levels that we are seeing, and Jeremy's been keeping us up to date. Rob Elvington is here helping as well, and we've got reporters that are out on the scene. Again, getting back to what we were told at a press conference earlier, that and we were told by the sheriff that they were going to be bringing in helicopters that will be dropping heavy rocks and filler, essentially to help to shore up the area on the evacuation of the spillway. So when we get more information about that, that should be happening. They should be dropping those rocks. We were told that would be happening early this evening. They do have lights on the area. It is heavily monitored. We also received information earlier that the governor's office and, of course, they are asking for emergency assistance from anywhere they can get it right now. There are ambulances coming down from Shasta County and more. So we're going to bring you some more. And right now, Eric C. from the Division of Water Resources is going to join our Taylor Torregano right now, and we're going to send it to Taylor and Eric C. with the very latest. Guys?
I'm here at the Visitor Center, and we haven't gotten another update since we talked to Sheriff Corey Honey, but I do have Public Information Officer Eric C. here with me. He's actually the PIO of the Oroville office. And Eric, I know we've already kind of reiterated exactly what happened, but maybe you can tell me from an engineer's point of view what this hole is all about.
Well, it's a head cut that is a type of erosion feature that moves in an upstream direction. It's caused by water flowing downstream, and but it causes erosion that works in an upstream direction. And so the concern was that the head cut was close enough to the auxiliary spillway structure that it could undermine the foundation of the structure, and there could be a failure of the structure. And that was why that information was provided to Sheriff Honey, and he decided that it was necessary to do the evacuation order.
Okay. And at this point, it's not as progressive as initially thought, correct?
That is correct. So one of the responses that the Department of Water Resources decided, and keep in mind that when I say the Department of Water Resources, right now there's not just Department of Water Resources dam safety engineers. There are engineers from the California Division of Safety of Dams, which is a regulatory agency, and also the Federal Energy Regulatory Agency. So this is it's a coordinated effort to try to come up with a solution for what's going on with Lake Oroville right now. So what they did was we increased the releases over the primary spillway. They were at 55,000 cubic feet per second. They increased them to 100,000 cubic feet per second. So the lake was already slowly receding, but that accelerated it dramatically. That doubled the outflow over the spillway. So what that did was that brings the surface of Lake Oroville down, and what they wanted to bring that surface down below the lip of the auxiliary structure, so that way the water was no longer flowing, because it's the water that's causing the erosion. So this way you stop the erosion by turning off the water source. So there's still water pressure pushing on that structure, so they're going to continue to. And this is information I had before I came up here 2 hours ago. So, but this is the plan is to continue to reduce the water, to reduce the pressure or lower the water level to reduce the pressure on that structure, and be able to effect repairs. Now that the water's not on that structure, it's going to dry out, or at least there's not going to be flowing water, and so we can start getting assets in there to start effecting a repair. We've heard some large helicopters flying over. I know that was one of the things they were talking about when I left, was getting helicopters up to this huge construction helicopters that can lift these large bags of rock, these giant bags of rock, and place them in the erosion feature. This is similar to what you do when you are doing a levee fix, and so there's people have experience with this type of thing.
As far as where the release is now, I know it was at 55,000, but is it up more? Is it less?
Yes.
Oh, it was 100,000. I'm sorry.
Yes, it was 55,000 cubic feet per second today, and they ramped it up very quickly to 100,000 cubic feet per second to, again, lower Lake Oroville even faster. The lake was actually today. Most of the day things were pretty stable, and the lake was lowering. The water that was flowing over the auxiliary spillway was lowering, and now this happens, but they brought the lake down very quickly. I will say that 100,000 cubic feet per second is a lot of water, but it's not as much as we released in 1997, which was 150,000 cubic feet per second. In 97, so anyways, that was the flow in 97. Since that time, there's been a lot of levee improvements in the area, but the channel capacity was designed to handle 150,000 CFS down the Feather River.
Okay. And is that water still, really quick, just going over that emergency spillway?
Before I left to go up here to do the press conference, they were saying that within the hour they expected the water level to get below the top of that emergency spillway, and that was now we're about 2 hours out. So I assume that it's already the water's already down below the lip, and that the water has stopped.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So that's the latest we have from Eric C. We also have a press conference coming up at 9 p.m., so I will have the latest with that. For now, I'm Taylor Torgano, live in Orville. Back to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Taylor. Our meteorologists are looking. When we do get the update on the water level, we'll let you know the minute it comes down to us, and our fingers are crossed. And let's be honest, this is not going to be an overnight scenario with the other situations that we're talking about relating to weather and melting snow and things of that nature. Now, DWR, as you heard, increased the water flow. This is some helicopter footage from earlier today, and that's a great look at what that emergency spillway has done. Let's point out that over about a 2-day period, there were crews out there ripping out trees, making sure that where you see white water going down right now, much of that had to be cleared of debris, of trees, of things that might have created downstream clogging and issues. They worked very hard. We spoke with construction crews and people that were working overnight on Wednesday, Thursday nights, and it looks like, all things being honest here, that emergency spillway is working. This is the first time it has ever reached that point. We do want to let you know that if you're not aware, an emergency evacuation was ordered late this afternoon. We heard, and we've spoken several times with Sheriff Honey. We heard from several officials, and we will continue to do that. After a hazardous situation developed at the Orville Dam spillway, of course, you may recall that early in the morning yesterday morning, for the first time, it went over 901 feet, and that was historic, the first time the spillway went. So we're going to bring you up to date on some evacuations and places that you can go and some of the things that are being offered. We do want to say that you do need to be evacuating. If you have not already evacuated, you certainly should be out of the areas south of the Orville Dam, and we're talking about around the Feather River, Gridley, Biggs, Yuba City. Those areas should also have moved out. There are many places that you can go, Silver Dollar Fairgrounds in Chico, and I'm going to kind of wait on to see what we get from on our latest graphic, because much of this is coming in as in my ears, as you can see, just like in the movies. It's the way we do it here when we're bringing you the live information. I'm trying to express to you the calm that has been expressed to us. They're not fibbing to us. They're telling us what's going on now, and that is the critical aspect. There are experts from pretty much everywhere. There has also been requests from Washington to get immediate assistance wherever we can get it, and as we get more of that information, we will have it for you. Butte County Superintendent of Schools has called for the following schools tomorrow: Bangor Union Elementary School District, Biggs Unified School District, Durham Unified School District, Feather Falls Union Elementary School District, Golden Feather Union Elementary School District. These are all closures. Gridley Unified School District, Manzanita Elementary School District, Oroville Elementary School District, Oroville Union High School District, Palermo Union Elementary School District, Pioneer Union Elementary School District, Thermalito Union Elementary School District in Butte County. All the Butte County Office of Education offices will also be closed tomorrow. Butte County Office of Education offices and schools in Oroville will also be closed. And I can honestly tell you that if in doubt, you can tell your teachers that Mr. Weber told you it's okay. But in all seriousness, if in doubt, we will keep those updated. We will bring you more information, and we'll have it on our website as well. The Executive Director of Butte 211, 24-hour public information helpline, got in touch with us, and they are taking calls. They are ready to assist. If you have questions, you're being asked not to call 911 unless it is a true emergency, because they can help you with landline cell phone calls. Yuba and Sutter residents can also call a back line here that you're going to see, 866-916-3566. We'll let you take a second to jot that down if you need to. But those of you who are in Butte County, you can just dial 211 if you have questions about where you can go, what you should do. We can tell you that you will not be allowed back in right away, and that is clearly something that's going to be an evolving situation. Many of the places that we've been listing for emergency, for shelters and places for you to go,
We'll pass that along to you once those evacuation centers open up within Sacramento County, but they just wanted to reiterate the fact that around here, we're good right now.
Okay, and Department of Water Resources also, they were set to have a press conference at 9, so we were hoping that we could get some more information. That has been moved back to 10 o'clock, so we're going to wait a little bit longer and we'll hear finally what they have to say. I imagine will have some important updates for us. We're also going to take a quick break right now, and we're going to continue to follow this breaking story again as it develops, as we get more into our newsroom. We'll see you on the other side of this break.
At Fox 40, we care about our neighbors, all 3.7 million of you. That's why we're in your neighborhood, highlighting what's important and positive in your community.
Give way, or they would have a problem with something breaking at the dam.
All right, well, the owner of LHS Livestock Calling in Orland is offering free livestock calling services to anyone who is being affected by the evacuation order. If you have livestock that you need help getting out of those lower parts of Oroville and downstream areas, you can call them at 936-4137. You can also go to their Facebook page for info. The page says they can call about 10 to 12 full-size cows or 20 to 30 cows depending on their weight. They're not sure how many horses they can haul, but they said they're willing to fit as many as they can. Well, the Shasta County Sheriff's Office is sending staff and are gearing up and headed to Oroville to assist in evacuations, and of course, any potential rescues that may occur.
We do want to mention, before we get to the next piece of video from Kelly Som, that the fairgrounds are not full. They just sent out a note saying that they opened another building, so there's plenty of room for evacuees to go to the fairgrounds, the Silver Dollar Fairgrounds. And
How did you find out about it?
My daughter called me and told me.
Daybreak anchor Kelly Som again was at the
That can't walk and the ambulance won't come in and take her.
It's a mother describing how she learned to get out and leave both of her daughters behind. To their aid, the brother and the family, Phil, described the helpless. They don't have the capacity.
We're probably within a quarter mile of the river itself there.
You pretty concerned about Amy?
From where, yeah. We don't have the transportation to be able to.
Right.